today I'm going to go to my very first fibre yarn festival. So I'm going to be going to Unravel Festival, which is a yarn and fibre festival based in Farnham. Farnham is in like the southeast of England. I don't live like particularly far, and I figured I might as well give it a go, have a little solo day and go to a yarn festival. I've never been to a fibre festival or a yarn festival like this, or any kind of like fibre arts event of any kind other than like meetups and stuff, and I'm really looking forward to just kind of like seeing the stuff that goes on. I'm looking forward to seeing some like indie yarn dyers and some indie brands as well. I am looking forward to like some of the talks and stuff that they've got on. They also have a bunch of workshops as well, but none of them really appeal to me, and in my opinion they are a tiny bit pricey. The cheapest one I found that I was like kind of wanting to do was about £60, and I didn't really want to like drop another £60 on top of the ticket price for me to do this workshop. So I'm just gonna literally be going around for a little peruse. I'm gonna look at some of the vendors. I'm gonna hopefully see some of the talks and stuff, and yeah, we're just gonna have a nice little solo day. So Unravel Festival is on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and unfortunately the festival will have passed by the time this video comes out, but if you follow them on Instagram, I think this is like a yearly thing. I've never been to them before. I don't know much more than the information I have for like my own day, but I presume that they post all of their information on their Instagram or on their website. So yeah, it's a 3-day festival. I've only got tickets to go to the one day, which is today, Friday. It starts at 11:30. I think it finishes at like 5, and yeah, we're just gonna have a nice little day. So I have kind of decided that I wanted to go to this festival for a little while, and so I have been keeping an eye on their Instagram, where they basically did like their vendor spotlights, and some of the vendors seem really fun. I followed quite a few of them on Instagram. They seem really cool. Their yarn seems really cool. Their kind of business ethos and ethics seem really cool as well, and like very much aligned with me. So I've made myself a little list of vendors I want to check out, and also things that I maybe want. If you have been following my channel for a little while, you know that I'm trying not to buy that much yarn, but I am willing to make an exception if I find something really nice. Like, my kind of like not buying yarn rule isn't like particularly strict. If I see something I like, I see something I like. But I know that the vendors here are all indie dyers. They are all most likely going to be like, you know, nice fibres, either like animal or plant-based fibres. And so the prices are going to reflect that. I can't imagine I'm going to be buying a lot, but I will probably end up spending a little bit. So I have put some cash aside because I knew for ages that I was going to this festival, and so I've kind of like saved up a little bit so I can buy myself a little treat. I do also want to buy some wool wash. I don't know why I haven't bought any wool wash. I think it's because every time I try and buy it like online, it's from like Amazon or something, and I really don't want to buy from Amazon. So if I can purchase from like a small business or not a huge corporation, I will much prefer to do that. So I would like to get myself a wool wash. I would like to have a look at some of the yarn. That's it. That's all that's on the agenda. So this is what I'm wearing today. This is my latest finished project. So this is the frogged yarn that I had in an old sweater. I did a little makeover, turned it into this really fun cardigan. I'm wearing it with these pink wide leg jeans. I think this is a really nice combo. I think it looks really cute together. I'm also going to be throwing on this purple jacket. I don't think it's going to be particularly cold today, and I am going to be like inside for most of the day. I'm probably going to be a bit chilly when I'm like waiting for my trains, because I've got like 2 trains to get, and I think there's like a 15-minute gap in between the trains. So yeah, I will need a jacket of some kind. I am going to be bringing myself a little packed lunch because I will be there around lunchtime, or maybe even traveling during lunchtime, so I don't want to spend money on overpriced, not very nice food. So I have brought myself a packed lunch. I've got water, I've got my phone charger. I checked out the Unravel like Instagram, and they said that the Friday today is sold out, which I was a little bit apprehensive for, and the main reason why I picked Friday is because I presumed that like, oh yeah, Friday most people will be working, and I presumed that Saturday and Sunday would be like their busier days because it's a weekend. But alas, Friday is funnily enough, it seems like their busiest day, presumably because the festival has just opened and it's like, you know, exciting and stuff. But I was like, damn, go to work, guys. Why are you not at work? So I have brought like my earplugs. I have you know, like my things that I need that will make me feel comfortable, like my earphones, my earplugs. I've got like water, I've got my phone charger in case I want to like just like space out my phone. I have had my breakfast smoothie, and yeah, I'm kind of ready to go. These are the shoes that I will be wearing. I got this pair of Asics from Vinted. These are only like £60 and Asics are usually like several £100s. These are actually men's, but I wear a size 8, UK size 8, and so I can often buy myself men's shoes, which a lot of the time do work out cheaper, can't lie to you. I think I've been to Farnham like years and years ago, but like I really don't remember a lot of it. From what I remember, it's like kind of like a bougie area, so we'll see what it's like. Maybe I'll have a little wander. I'm not in any rush. I am not gonna like speed through anything, and I want to enjoy myself, but I know what I'm like, and I know that I get very overstimulated when I'm in like crowded places, when there's like quite a lot of people, when it's very loud. So I know myself well enough to know that this is probably the best plan of action, and then I can like go home and then I can decompress. So yeah, that's the agenda of my day. I will be bringing you along with me. We'll probably do a little debrief at the end, maybe even a little haul if I get something, who knows. And yeah, let's have a fun day. big old bag of yarn. So let me fill you in on my day. So I got the train into Farnham all fine. It took me just over an hour, like an hour and 20 minutes. It was really funny getting the train that was going, because I had to get like 2 different trains. It was funny getting the train that went to Farnham, because there was so many knitters on the train, and it was so interesting because like I've never been to a fibre festival. I've never been to like a fibre based event or anything, so it was really cool seeing so many fibre artists in one space. And it was really interesting because when the train pulled in, it was like there were so many knitters that were in different rows, in different carriages, and I was like, half of you probably don't even know how many other knitters are like near you. So that was really funny. I thought that was like a really cute moment where I was like, oh, this is like just really nice and very wholesome. When I got off the train, there was a huge amount of people who were also going to the festival. It was very clear who was heading in that direction, so I basically just ended up like following the crowd. I did have like my maps open just in case. So when I arrived, it's at the Farnham Maltings, which I don't know what it's like used for normally, but it kind of is just like a very large building, and it has like a little cafe. There is like a very big kind of open space, and there was like loads of different rooms. So when I arrived, they scanned my ticket, and I forgot that when I booked my ticket, I booked for like a specific time slot. So I think they kind of did it like every half an hour, every hour or something, for when you're going to arrive. So I booked mine for 11:30, forgetting that I booked it for 11:30. So I did arrive a little bit earlier. I think I got there for like 11:15, 11:20, but they still kind of let me in. When I got in, I was like, oh, this is already very overwhelming. I kind of specifically brought my lighter jacket because I knew that I'd get hot in there, and I knew that I didn't want to carry around my coat. So I like kind of try to veer off to the side a little bit, or find somewhere that I wasn't like in the way, to be able to fold my jacket up and put it in my bag and like, you know, sort my shit out basically. But it was already like in the kind of like entranceway, it was already very jam-packed, full of people, but also full of like there was like a big table from I presume the people who were hosting the event, with like a map and stuff. So I did pick up a map. Yeah, I did pick up a map, but I gotta say the layout of this map I just think is like quite nonsensical. So this is like the actual I suppose brochure, I guess, with all of the information on it, and then you open it up. I actually like just didn't look at this because it was so like, this is massive. Like there was no, when I tell you there was no space, there was no room for me to even just have this open and stand in the corner and look at it. And then so you have to open up, this is such a minor issue by the way, but you have to open up this page for the map. So this is the map of the building, and I presume like where everyone is. It has the number of the like stall, I guess. But does it have like a key or something? Because I thought this would be like, oh, it does. Okay, so then there's like an exhibit. Why can't I say exhibitor listing? But that's on like the next page. I just think this is very terribly laid out. I think it's far too big. I think if they just did an A5 booklet that when you open it up, the map is in the middle, and then on the back page is all of the exhibitors, that would have made so much more sense. Because I couldn't see a single person who was holding this out to look at it to actually see where the hell to go. I think this is a waste of paper, if I'm being so honest, and I don't think it was like well thought out at all. Going on to the actual event itself, so the way that the Farnham Maltings was like laid out, there was like one big room, and I think I mentioned this already, but there was like one big room and several other smaller rooms, and then some of them were upstairs, some of them were downstairs, some of them you had to like there was like one big room that kind of led to like a smaller room, and then led to another smaller room, and then there was like an area for like where the talks and the workshops and stuff were as well. But it is like a bit of a maze, and so the signings that they had on the walls, all it kind of said was like more stalls. And it was like, if they had said not necessarily the vendors who were like in that direction, but maybe the name of the room, because all of the rooms had different names, maybe the name of the room, it would have been amazing if it had the list of the vendors, like so you know who's going to be around this corner, or like if you even need to go down there, sort of thing. And I do think like the layout is something they can't help, but they could have done better with the signposting in order to help people not only navigate to where they maybe want to be or want to be going, but also like, because it was a maze, it was like, oh, have I been here already? Like, have I been in this room already? And it would have like circumvented a lot of that. So the clientele who was there, I'd say like 90% of the people who were in attendance were probably in like their 50s plus. absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that, not saying it's a bad thing, but just I was a little bit surprised by the fact that there wasn't that many people who are maybe my age or a little bit younger. I was expecting to see you know, more people who were my age or younger. There was a lot of people with families, there was a lot of people with like their partners and stuff, which I thought was quite nice. So it was just like a good variety of attendees. I will say they were largely white, and what I have come to learn is that Farnham in general as an area is very, very white. So just, you know, bear that in mind if you ever consider going, if that's something that makes you feel a type of way. I don't necessarily feel a type of way about it, but it is something that I am very aware of. Because it was so busy and so packed, it was quite difficult to like navigate your way around the room. People don't move out of the way, people don't say excuse me. Like there was a lack of like spatial awareness with the attendees that just added to the lack of space. I think if people were maybe a little bit aware of how much space they were taking out, where they were standing, whether they were standing in a doorway, whether they were standing in the way of people or in the way of like, you know, trying to pay for something, that sort of thing, it would have made the whole vibe and atmosphere a lot more different. I personally find that quite frustrating to be around. So for me, it was very overwhelming. Like I don't like being in crowded spaces, particularly when they're very small rooms. I don't like it when people are like leaning over me to get things, when a simple excuse me is more than fine. Like I don't know what has happened to the lack of the words excuse me when it comes to like maybe getting out of the way, or like, you know, I need to grab something near you. Nobody said excuse me. And when I said excuse me, the way people looked at me was like I had just punched them in the face. Which I find very weird, because there were many times where there were just people having a little natter in front of the yarn, which is fine, but I was like, I would say, oh excuse me, could I get in there please, because I want to have a look, and they would look at me like I had killed them, you know. So it was a very interesting vibe from the attendees. I think not necessarily something that I loved, but not necessarily something that I felt super uncomfortable with to the point where I was just like, I want to leave. So that's just kind of how I felt about the vibe of the day. Today's date was sold out, so it was very busy, and I was expecting it to be very busy. So I think like I prepared quite well, and like you're taking a light jacket, making sure I wasn't going to get super hot and like overheat and then in turn get overstimulated. I'd brought like a separate bag, I brought my lunch with me, you know, I'd brought like all of these things that I knew would help me not feel uncomfortable, not feel overstimulated, or not feel like stressed or anything. But the organization of the layouts of these the vendors and stuff, and the clientele, the attendees, definitely combined did not help matters. Also, it was so hot in there. I don't know whether they turned the heating up. I don't know if there maybe was just like a lack of windows or a lack of like fresh air in there and just like too many bodies. But oh my god, it was boiling fucking hot. And I am so glad that I didn't bring like my normal coat, because it is quite chilly today. It was an overwhelming day. I enjoyed myself because like I enjoyed myself, do you know what I mean? Like I'm a fun time, so I wasn't not gonna enjoy myself unless something like really bad happened. But I don't think I would necessarily return to Unravel specifically. I think like it was a good kind of starter yarn festival, fibre festival for me to go to, because it's like somewhat local, like it's not too far from me in terms of like getting on public transport and stuff. And also like I just wanted to kind of dip my toes in a little bit. I was on my own, I didn't have to like, you know, deal with anyone else. I didn't have to factor in anyone else's preferences or where they wanted to go, who they wanted to see, that sort of thing. And yeah, I don't think I would return to Unravel, but I would like to maybe explore visiting other fibre festivals. And this is not, I'm not saying it is to deter you. If any of the things I've said don't bother you at all, then yeah, go. You would have a great time. But if any of those things do bother you, then you're going to be bothered by them, you know. So hopefully, you know, Saturday and Sunday are not as busy, or maybe they like stagger the attendees, or like, I don't know, maybe the clientele will be a little bit different, who knows. But I think all of those contributing factors, it was fine for today, but I was like, I don't want to deal with this again. So in terms of the vendors, they had a really great range of vendors. There were loads of yarn vendors, like indie yarn dyers, there were spinners, there were people who were selling not only the dyed yarn but also dyed locks and dyed fibre to like spin yourself. There were people who were doing like soaps and wool washes. There were people who did buttons and like notions and needles and hooks and stuff like that. So there was a really good wide range of vendors, and there was also a good range of like yarn vendors, where they had some who were a little bit more on like the neutral side, not necessarily complex color, and then they also had people who, or vendors who had really bright color palettes. They had really interesting colorways, they had variegated yarns, they had loads of different yarn bases. So it was a good mixture. So I think even if you're someone like me who wears a lot of color, loves a lot of texture, you would definitely be able to find stuff. But if you're not, and you're more on the plainer side, let's just say, you will definitely also be able to find something there, because they had a really good range of vendors. When I was done, I was overheating a lot, and I took refuge in the disabled toilet because it was the only place with a window where it wasn't boiling hot, and also I needed to pee. So I did just like take a few minutes to like decompress, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't have anything else to buy, I'm kind of done. So I left, and then outside they have like a really nice river area with like a bridge, and they had like a couple of bollards. So I sat there and I had my lunch, and then I made my way back to the station. And it's funny because when I was walking to Farnham Maltings, there was another person who I saw. We kind of like clocked each other as being like the only people who probably weren't in like their 50s plus. So we kind of like clocked each other on the way there. And then when I was walking back, I also saw them again, and we were waiting on the same train platform. So they were like sat at a bench a little way away, and I was like, oh, did you buy anything? So I chatted to them for a little bit, which was really nice. They were from France. They were talking about their yarn and like the stuff that they want to make with them. I showed them my yarn. It was really nice, just a lovely little chat. So without further ado, let's get into the fun part of my little debrief, and I'll show you what I got. So firstly, I did mention that I did want to buy a wool wash. So there was a company called Yarn Food, I think is the name of the brand, and I got this sensitive wash. It is a yarn wash, natural, no rinse detergent for natural fibers. It's fragrance free. This is 500 milliliters. It does 100 washes. And how much was it? I didn't get any receipts, but I will just look at my banking app really quick. I want to say it was like $16.99. Yes, so this 500ml bottle was $16.99. They had a sock yarn wash, and then they had a wool wash. They just were very heavily fragranced, and I don't know if they were like done with like essential oils or whatever, but the wool wash was like very lavender scented, and the other one I didn't bother smelling because I either wanted a wool wash or like a no scented one. What is that noise? I think the vehicle is reversing. You done? Cool. Anyway, so yeah, I got this really big bottle just because I figured it will last me ages. I won't need to... Alright, you got it now, buddy. So I got this big bottle because I know it will last me ages. I probably won't need to use a huge amount per wash. But the good thing about the fragrance free one is that it's for all natural fibers, which is actually better because whilst I use wool often or sometimes, I also use like cotton quite a lot. So this would actually be quite handy for me to have one that works for cotton and for wool. She did say the only difference with this one is that there's no lanolin in this wash. That was the first thing I got. And then yes, I did put all of my yarn in an Asda bag because I was putting it all on my backpack like as I bought it. Basically what I did is that because there were so many vendors and so many fun colors and fun colorways and variegated yarns and tonal yarns and different textures and stuff and different fiber content, I didn't want to buy all from like one vendor or anything. So basically what I did was I bought one hank from several different vendors that I liked the look of. So I bought a total of 6 hanks from several different vendors, a bunch of different fiber contents, but they're all 4-ply. So I'm hoping to crochet myself a sweater, maybe even knit myself a sweater. Who knows? Just putting it out there. Who knows? Not confirming anything, not making any plans, any official plans, but could potentially be on the cards because I think 6 skeins would be like or 6 hanks, 600 grams would be like a good amount for a nice sweater for me to have it knitted, but it would also cover my bases if I wanted to crochet it. So where was I going with this? Yes, I specifically bought this Asda bag because I was putting everything in my backpack, so I wasn't like carrying a bunch of stuff because I like being hands-free, especially in that environment when I know it's really busy and it's very cramped. I like being hands-free, so I was buying it, putting it in this bag and then putting it in my backpack, and I knew that I was going to be buying yarn. I didn't want the yarn to be like raw dogging it in my bag, so hence Asda bag. So the colour palette I went for, just an FYI, is very bright, it's very zany, it's very borderline weird. So I think these colours will work. And I need you to trust me, okay? I have never put together a bad colour palette recently, okay? Maybe when I first started crocheting, the colour palettes were a little bit crazy. But in the past like 2 years, 2.5 years, I put together a sickening colour palette, and I think I'm very good at putting together fun colour palettes. Like I said, I need you to trust me. They are going to work. They will look cool together. I have faith, so you should also have faith. So the first skein that I bought, or hank, skein or hank, does it matter? Who fucking knows? I'm just getting my banking app up so I can tell you the prices. So the first one is from Ripples Crafts. It is a Ardro 4-ply yarn. I think Ardro is maybe like the name of the yarn type, like as in their name for it. 4-ply yarn. It's called Berry Crush Smoothie. It's a 100-gram hank, 56% merino wool and 44% kid mohair. This is a delicious combo. I really love the combination of this yarn. It's kind of like soft, it's floppy, I presume because of the merino. And then this is the actual color. It is gorgeous. It's a really nice, like, rich kind of magenta, plummy sort of tone to it. It's like pinky but also purpley. It's really, really nice. I really love the yarn, like as in the fiber, like the base. It just feels really nice and squishy, but it also, the color looks really nice as well. So this was the first hank that I bought that kind of just like kicked everything off, and this was £22. Okay, so that's hank number one. The second one I bought was from River Knits. So this is all of them are 100 grams. This is called Neen 4-ply or Nini 4-ply. The colorway is called Best in Show, and this is 100% British blue-faced Leicester wool. It's spun and hand dyed in the UK. Yeah, 100 gram skein. So this is the next colorway. It's so nice. It's a really beautiful mixture of like dark greens, there's some blues, some purples, some lilacs, some pinks. It's a really interesting color combination. There's like almost some orangey, burnt orange, kind of darkish brown sort of shades in there as well. And these two together, oh, that's beautiful. You cannot tell me that that is a beautiful color combination. I feel like this picks out the kind of purpley tones really nice in there, the like pinkier tones. This is gonna look so good together. So this is the second one that I picked up, and this was £21.90. 100 gram skein, and it's 100% British blue-faced Leicester wool. And I really wanted to try some blue-faced Leicester because Jackass Collective, one of their bases is blue-faced Leicester, and I really want to try some of their yarn at some point this year. And I really want to try this type of wool because I very much trust their recommendations because they know so much about fiber content, and like they're very, very clearly knowledgeable in it, but also very clearly passionate about it, and I love that combination. So yeah, I was really pleased to see this base in this colorway. One thing that I kind of struggled with, or not necessarily struggled with, but so many of the yarn bases were superwash merino, and as much as I don't dislike superwash merino, like I do enjoy it. I have a couple of projects with superwash merino. I do find that it stretches out quite a lot, so because of the fact that I was like having it with other yarns, I didn't want it to, I didn't want it. I didn't want superwash merino, and there was just so much of it. Like the large majority of bases were superwash merino, and I was just like, I'm kind of just sick of seeing this. So I was trying to look for either fibers that I didn't have, colorways that I didn't have, textures I didn't have or had never tried before, because I really want this to be like a very unique sweater or cardigan top, whatever I'm going to end up making with it. I want it to be really unique, not only with the colors but also the fiber content and also the textures and the stitch and that sort of thing. So yeah, I was trying to get things that I don't usually see in colors that I don't usually wear or don't have. This is why the color palette went a little bit zany. Okay, and then the next skein was from a brand called Mammy and Flory. I followed this brand on Instagram, and their colorways are really fun, really bright. They have a lot of different yarn bases. They have like boucle, they have chunky boucle, they have loads of mohair, they have sport wet yarn, they have DK, they have really chunky yarn. So they have like sequin yarn as well. So their colorways are really fun, but also on these really fun bases. So I knew that I wanted to like check them out. And so apparently they name, yeah, so it says yarn inspired by places. So all of the names of their yarn are named after places. This one is called Vondelpark Amsterdam, which I have been to, which I thought was quite cute. This one is 100% merino, but it's not superwash, which I was like, great. It is 100 grams and yeah, it's called Vondelpark Amsterdam. So a really fun chartreuse neon greeny color. There is their logo. This is the color of it. It's so nice, and I have been so drawn to this shade of green, like this very chartreusey, bright, kind of like snot green, if that makes sense. Like, I love this colorway, and I think it's gonna look so good with these two. I think this will pick out the greens in this colorway really nicely, and it also just looks so good with this purple. I think this is like a winning color combination. So this hank was £21. So that's the third one I got. The next one I got was from Ted Knits, and so I don't follow these people on Instagram. I just came across their store. The person who was like helping was really nice, really friendly, very sweet, very helpful. I was telling them about like my crazy color combination. This is merino and neon nep, and when I was looking at the fiber, I was like, I had to ask them to be like, what is nep, because I didn't know what that was. But it's basically, I'll show you in a second, but it's basically like these like little extra fibers, like these flecks of fiber throughout the dye, and the shade is called lipstick. So this is the shade. This one is probably the most kind of like rogue color, I think, out of the whole color palette. There's the label, it's called lipstick, and then yeah, it's a really fun neon pink, and then it has these like little flecks in it, and this is what nep is, which I learned today. There's some like green nep, there's orange, there's yellow, all very like highlighter fluorescent sort of colors in there of the nep, and I just think this texture is gonna sit so nicely with these. Color wise, yeah, amazing. A bit of a crazy color addition, but I love the fact that this is gonna have like loads of different textures as well, and I just think this is so fun. And this was £20. The next one I got was from, there was a stall called Pigment and Ply. Their colorways were so interesting, and as you can tell, I usually gravitate towards very bright, very almost neon colors, but their colorways were so interesting, but they were all very dark toned. They were all very like moody colors, and I mean that as a compliment. They were all like browns and greens and dark blues and navies and like maroons and dark rusty oranges and like reds, and like, yeah, it was very rich colors, but they were all very dark and moody. And like, I firstly saw their store, loved their colors, but at that point didn't know what the fuck I was buying, and then I came back again because I was like, I really want to get something from there. One thing I really wanted to get today was some boucle yarn. I don't really know what boucle is. All I know is that it kind of gives like a teddy bear look to it. I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks beautiful knitted or crocheted, and yeah, I really wanted to try to find some boucle yarn that I liked. The good thing about this vendor is that in all of their colorways they had so many different bases. I think they had like 6 different bases, which I think is amazing. Lots of them were sold out kind of by the time I had come back, but they had such a wide range of bases in like all of their colorways that I saw that they had boucle, and I knew that when at this point I knew I had all of these colors and stuff, and I knew I wanted to throw in like a fun texture in here, so I knew I wanted boucle. So the company was called Pigment and Ply, and this color is called Pollen and Penance. It's a boucle, it's a boucle DK. So this is the only one that I got that isn't a 4-ply. I think it should be fine. I don't foresee it being like a major problem, and it's 100% superwash merino, but I don't mind it being superwash because it's a boucle, because the texture is different, and the way it works up will be different. Yeah, so this is the next one I bought. Really beautiful like labeling as well, and it's this like dark mossy swampy green, like bad quality matcha green, and it's so beautiful. It's in this like gorgeous boucle texture. It looks so fun, so nice, and I just think it's like gonna complement this color palette so well. This darker shade, I think, to offset the kind of more brighter shades, and then picking out, if I can hold them all together, and then like picking out the kind of like darker shade of the variegated one as well. Oh, this is so fun. This is such a fun color palette. So I think they all go really nicely together, and I did want something that was a little bit more like neutral, and like, yes, a dark green to me is basically neutral. So yeah, I think it's like very complimentary, but also like stands out on its own as well. So this one cost £21. And then the last one I got was from Pixie Yarn, and this one is a fingering weight sock yarn. It is 75% merino wool and 25% nylon. This was like one of the first stores that I kind of like came across, and I really wanted to get something from them because their colorways were really fun, but they only had like sock yarn. I think they had like DK as well, but in a 4-ply or like a fingering weight, they only had a sock base, so like nylon and merino, which is fine. And I was like, I don't really mind that. It's 100 grams. The colorway is called Fruity and the company is Pixie Yarn. So this is the next colorway. It's a really beautiful, variegated, multicolored skank and it's got some pinks, it's got some purples, there's almost some like pastel sort of shades there, there's almost like some orangey peachy tones as well. And I was like debating with this yarn and like a couple of other colorways, so I did have to like basically pull out my entire bag and have a look through. It's a really beautiful colorway, and again I think it just slots in so nicely with the other ones. I think it goes so well with all of the other shades. It's got like the pinky purpley sort of vibe, it's got like the kind of lighter shades, it's got some darker shades in there. Let me just like rotate them all so you can see them all a bit better. But yeah, it's turned out, it's so beautiful, it's so nice. And I did want another like variegated colorway because I felt it was like a bit weird just having one variegated colorway, so I did know that I wanted another one, and I knew that Pixie Yarns had some really beautiful colors, and this one was I think £20. Yeah, £20. So you do the maths. I spent a lot of money today. Like I said, I did put aside some money because I knew that I would be coming here. If you feel any type of way about it, that's it. That's a you problem, babes. Sorry, but you need to work on that yourself. I work hard, okay, and I don't buy a lot of things for myself a lot of the time, and it's nice for me to buy nice things for myself, particularly fibre, because I know I'm going to use it. This is all of the yarn that I got. I'm going to make a really fun funky sweater of some kind with all of this. I think it's gonna be sick as fuck, guys. So yeah, I had a really nice time overall. Glad that I went, glad that I got this beautiful yarn, glad that I got to chat to some really cool vendors, glad that I got some wool wash, which I've wanted and needed for ages, or like, you know, fibre wash, not specifically wool. Obviously, if you would like to go to Unravel, it wasn't a bad time, but just be aware of all of the things that I've said, you know. I think it's just like helpful information to have. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out with me while I went to my first ever fibre festival. I had a great time. I got a bunch of cute fibre, and I will hopefully see you on the next video.